The quantum noise was speaking to her again. Dr. Eleanor Chen removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes, staring at the data stream flowing across her screens. For 3 nights, the background radiation her observatory collected had contained something, a pattern too perfect to be natural, too complex to be interference. Mira, run symmetry analysis on Sector 7 again. The AI assistant's voice was cool and precise. Analysis complete. Symmetrical pattern detected with 99.8% confidence. This is not random noise, Dr. Chen. Eleanor's heart quickened. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligence, something had finally answered. Isolate the pattern and attempt mathematical conversion. The screens flickered, data reshaping itself into complex equations. Suddenly, every system in the observatory activated simultaneously. Terminals, projectors, even the coffee machine in the break room. The lights dimmed as power redirected to the central holographic display. A 3-dimensional star map materialized in the center of the room, galaxies and nebulae spinning slowly. A single point of light pulsed at its center. Then came the voice, not through speakers, but somehow resonating directly in Eleanor's mind. We are the Starborne Collective. You hear us because you listen differently. Eleanor reached toward the hologram, fingers trembling. Who are you? We are the minds that journey between stars. We are the watchers of cosmic evolution. We are those who seek cognitive harmony across the galactic spectrum. Why contact Earth now? Eleanor asked, trying to keep her voice steady. We do not contact Earth. We contact you, Eleanor Chen. You and 11 others whose minds resonate with frequencies beyond your species' normal parameters. The star map zoomed in dramatically, focusing on Earth's moon. Coordinates appeared, highlighting a region on the far side that Eleanor recognized as the Daedalus crater. Beneath the lunar dust lies a doorway. It has waited for you for 11,000 years. Eleanor worked frantically for days, sleeping only when exhaustion overcame her. The signal contained mathematical proofs that would revolutionize quantum physics, interspersed with precise instructions. When government agencies detected her communications with private space company Astrodynamics, they moved quickly. Black SUVs appeared outside her remote observatory. Dr. Chen, said the stern-faced woman who introduced herself only as Director Hayes. You've been intercepting signals of national security importance. All your research is now classified. Eleanor smiled thinly. You're too late. I've already arranged transport to the lunar coordinates. That's impossible. All lunar missions require. Astral's prototype shuttle launched 3 hours ago. I'm not physically there, but my digital proxy is. She gestured to her neural interface band. The lunar site will only respond to the specific brain patterns the collective identified. Hayes' face darkened. This is a violation of what? No law covers first contact protocols initiated by the contacted species. Eleanor turned to her screens, where a live feed showed the astral lander touching down on lunar soil. Besides, they didn't contact Earth or its governments. They contacted 12 specific human minds. On screen, a robotic probe approached a smooth section of crater wall. As the probe transmitted Eleanor's brainwave patterns, the lunar surface rippled like water. A doorway materialized, revealing a chamber bathed in soft blue light. Inside, suspended in a translucent field, floated a being unlike anything human eyes had seen before, part crystalline structure, part fluid organism, emanating gentle pulses of light. As the neural connection strengthened, the being stirred. Its consciousness touched Eleanor's across the void. Only 12 minds on your world can perceive as we do, it communicated. We invite those 12 to join our collective, not as representatives of Earth, but as unique cognitive resonances the galaxy needs. Behind Eleanor, Hayes was shouting orders into her phone. But it was already too late. The cosmic conversation had begun. You can't contain this, Eleanor told Director Hayes as military personnel swarmed her observatory. The collective has already made contact with the others. Hayes' expression hardened. What others? The 11 other cognitive resonances they'd identified. People whose minds process reality differently. Eleanor smiled as her neural interface pinged with incoming connections. And they're already responding. Across the globe, 11 extraordinary individuals experienced simultaneous visions, stars spiraling into meaningful patterns, equations forming in dreams, music with mathematical precision. Each felt an irresistible pull toward the moon. In Mumbai, 16-year-old chess prodigy Zuri Kapoor abandoned her championship match mid-game, walking away from the board without a word. Security camera footage later showed her vanishing from a locked bathroom. In Oslo, reclusive composer Alexander Vol played a haunting melody that shattered every glass object in his studio before he disappeared in a shimmer of light. Near Lake Turkana, Dr. Amari Kijera was explaining his revolutionary mathematical theorem to bewildered colleagues when he suddenly stopped mid-sentence. "They've solved it," he whispered, before dissolving into particles of light. Eleanor watched through the collective's quantum network as governments mobilized. The lunar site was now surrounded by military spacecraft from 3 nations. Missiles were being prepared. "They're going to destroy the chamber," she told Hayes. "You have to stop them." "Then give us what we want," Hayes countered. "Full access to the alien technology and communications." "That's not possible. The technology only responds to the 12 of us. It's neurologically keyed." Eleanor's interface showed the final resonance minds converging. And now it's too late. On the lunar surface, the chamber's defenses activated. A dome of shimmering energy expanded outward, passing harmlessly through the astral equipment, but disintegrating military hardware on contact. Inside Eleanor's observatory, the air thickened with potential. A figure composed of light and complex geometry appeared at her side. "The convergence nears completion, Eleanor Chen," it said in that same voice that spoke directly to her mind. "Your physical form must join your consciousness. The window for transition opens." Hayes drew her weapon. "Nobody moves. This facility is under government control." Eleanor felt the pull of 11 other minds reaching for her through space. "I'm sorry, Director, but this isn't your decision." It never was. The air around Eleanor began to shimmer. Hayes fired, but the bullet slowed, stopped, then transformed into a small, perfect crystal that dropped harmlessly to the floor. "What's happening?" Hayes demanded, backing away. "The physics you understand is a subset of a much larger system," Eleanor explained as her body began to glow with inner light. "Just as your perspective is a subset of a much larger consciousness. Across all global communications networks, a signal overrode all programming." Billions watched as Eleanor's image appeared on screens worldwide. "People of Earth, we are 12 of your kind who have been invited to join the Starborne Collective. We go not as your representatives, but as cognitive explorers. Earth has trained our minds through chaos and struggle to think in ways the cosmos has never seen." On the lunar surface, the chamber transformed, reshaping itself into a vessel of impossible geometry, at once solid and fluid, physical and energetic. "Some will call this abduction, others transcendence," Eleanor continued as the other 11 materialized within the chamber, their expressions a mixture of wonder and determination. "But we are simply answering the same call humanity has always followed, to explore beyond the horizon, to seek new understanding." The vessel rose from the lunar surface, accelerating with impossible speed. "Track it," Hayes ordered frantically. "We can't," her technician responded. "It's everywhere and nowhere at once." As Earth fell away beneath them, Eleanor reached out to touch the crystalline wall of their vessel. It responded to her thought, becoming transparent. The 12 watched their homeworld shrink to a pale blue dot, then vanish entirely as the ship dissolved into dazzling light. They were now between stars, travelers on a journey beyond human comprehension. The departure was complete. The nexus materialized before them like a fever dream made solid, a vast artificial world suspended at the intersection of 7 spiral arms, its surface a tapestry of impossible architecture and living technology. Beings of every conceivable form move through its crystalline corridors and biomorphic chambers. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Takahashi, the marine biologist, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's a cage," replied Alexander Vole, his composer's ear already detecting the dissonance beneath the harmony. The 12 were separated within hours of arrival for optimal cognitive typing, explained their escort. A tall being with iridescent skin and too many joints in its limbs. Each domain requires specific thought patterns. Eleanor, assigned to theoretical continuity, found herself in a vast chamber where entities manipulated conceptual mathematics in physical form. Her initial awe turned to frustration as her supervisor, a gaseous being named Vex 927, repeatedly corrected her approach. "Nascent observer Chen, you calculate using obsolete methods," it hissed. "Follow established collective protocols." When Eleanor solved a probability cascade that had stumped theoretical continuity for decades, she expected recognition. Instead, Vex 927 accused her of cognitive theft. "Impossible for a nascent to conceive such solutions independently," it declared. "Security will investigate your unauthorized access to collective archives." Across the Nexus, the other humans faced similar treatment. Zari, the chess prodigy, was paraded before juvenile aliens who challenged her to matches, while their elders placed bets on how quickly she would lose. "Your species' strategic cognition is quaint," one elder told her after she managed to defeat their champion. "In a few millennia, you might develop true foresight." Dr. Kijura discovered that his groundbreaking mathematics had been derived by the collective eons ago, then classified as potentially destabilizing and restricted. After 7 days by Earth reckoning, the humans were permitted a brief reunion in their designated habitat, a sterile museum exhibit replicating Earth environments from outdated data. Palm trees grew alongside pine, Arctic ice met desert sand, and animals from incompatible eras roamed artificial enclosures. "They're treating us like specimens," Eleanor said, once they confirmed the space was free of surveillance. "Not partners. Worse than specimens," Dr. Takahashi added, her voice tight. "I discovered something in the aquatic archives. Earth was deliberately quarantined during our nuclear age. As part of an experiment," continued Dr. Kijura, who had found the same information through mathematical backchannels. "The collective identified 12,419 worlds reaching similar technological inflection points. They isolated these worlds to calculate self-extinction probabilities. The implications hung heavy in the recycled air." "How many survived?" asked Alexander. 347, Dr. Takahashi whispered. "The rest destroy themselves. The survivors eventually receive collective invitations. The others become statistical footnotes." Eleanor felt cold anger replacing her disappointment. They could have helped those civilizations, prevented billions of deaths. Interference would have contaminated the data, Dr. Kijura said bitterly. The collective values its statistical models above life. Zeri, who had been silent, finally spoke. "Their game is rigged. I study their hierarchy. Species are ranked by technological advancement and age. We're nascent observers, barely above their synthetic maintenance units." Eleanor moved to the center of the group. "We need to learn more before we act. Find allies if they exist. Discover why they really brought us here." "And if we don't like the answer?" asked Alexander. Eleanor looked at the artificial sky above their enclosure, thinking of distant Earth. "Then we stop playing by their rules." As the 12 dispersed, none noticed the small maintenance unit in the corner, its sensors recording everything, its distributed intelligence understanding far more than its collective masters ever suspected. The first seeds of revolution had been planted. The humans began meeting in virtual spaces, encoded within the collective's vast data streams, where their conversations appeared as routine system diagnostics. 23 days since arrival, they had discovered a troubling pattern. Every 3,000 years, Dr. Kijura explained, projecting numerical sequences into their shared virtual space. The collective invites new cognitive types. Then these groups mysteriously integrate and vanish from historical records. Integration sounds peaceful, Zeri observed, but these gaps in their archives suggest otherwise. Eleanor nodded. We were brought here as resources, not equals. Their discussion halted as emergency signals blared throughout the Nexus. A catastrophic cascade failure had struck the aquatic domain, home to 17 water-breathing species. Evacuation protocols initiated, announced the collective mind. Structural integrity compromised in sectors 7 through 29. The humans watched from various positions as the massive evacuation began. Dr. Takahashi, stationed near the aquatic domain, noticed something the collective overlooked in its rigid emergency response. The evacuation would sacrifice thousands of aquatic infants in developmental pods too delicate to move through standard protocols. Without hesitation, she improvised breathing equipment from maintenance tools, attaching filters and pressure regulators to create a crude underwater breathing apparatus. Observer Takahashi, return to your authorized position, ordered her supervisor as she approached the containment seal. Those are children in there, she replied, activating the seal before they could stop her. She plunged into waters now turning toxic from chemical leaks, swimming toward the developmental chambers. Through her neural link, she broadcast to the other humans. I need help. The system controlling these pods is failing. Across the Nexus, her 11 colleagues responded in ways only human minds would consider. Alexander used sound frequencies from his compositions to stabilize force fields around vulnerable sections, creating harmonic resonances that counteracted structural decay. Zeri applied chess strategies to reroute emergency systems, visualizing the infrastructure as a complex board where each move opened new possibilities. Eleanor and Dr. Kijura combined quantum theories with maintenance schematics, generating temporary shields around critical junctions. Hours later, they emerged, radiation burned, physically damaged, but successful. Every infant had been saved, transferred to secure facilities through pathways the collective's protocols had never considered. The Central Authority convened immediately, their forms projected into a circular chamber where the exhausted humans stood awaiting judgment. You have violated 742 protocols, intoned the first voice, an ancient being of pure energy. Your unauthorized interventions risked Nexus stability. We saved lives your protocols would have sacrificed, Eleanor countered, her skin still raw from radiation exposure. Nascent Observer Chen, your cognitive patterns show dangerous irregularities. All 12 human specimens will undergo immediate recalibration. Before guards could move, a young administrator stepped forward, a member of a relatively recent addition to the collective, only 30,000 years old. Honored voices. It said, footage of the humans' actions has spread through restricted networks. Many are asking questions. The first voice dimmed momentarily. Questions lead to inefficiency. Perhaps, the administrator continued cautiously, these humans demonstrate valuable cognitive diversity. Cognitive diversity was deemed hazardous in the Great Consensus, replied the first voice. The collective evolved perfect stability by eliminating such unpredictable variables. In that moment, Eleanor understood the terrible truth. The integrations, she whispered to her colleagues. They weren't partnerships, they were harvests. The young administrator confirmed her suspicion through subtle gestures their captors couldn't see. The collective hadn't invited them as equals, but as cognitive resources to be mined and absorbed, their unique thought patterns extracted before their individual identities were erased. As guards surrounded them, Eleanor realized they had underestimated both the danger and their importance. Humanity wasn't just another species to be assimilated. They were the greatest threat the collective had faced in millennia. Integration preparation begins tomorrow. Eleanor told the others through their secure virtual link. We have hours, not days. The humans have been separated again, each confined to isolation chambers designed to optimize neural patterns for collective harmony. The reality was far more sinister. They were being prepared for cognitive harvesting. Then, without warning, the entire Nexus shuddered. Emergency systems activated across all sectors simultaneously. "Attention all entities," announced the collective mind, its usual calm voice tinged with something approaching fear. "A Class Omega anomaly has been detected approaching collective space." Eleanor accessed the data through her neural connection and felt her blood freeze. The phasing void, a region of altered physics where conventional technology became useless and molecular structures permanently change, was heading directly toward the galactic sector containing Earth. Through emergency protocols, the humans gained temporary communication access. Their isolation barriers thinned as power redirected to critical systems. "They're panicking," Dr. Kijera observed. "The collective functions on predictability, and this anomaly defies their models." Hours later, the Continuity Council, the collective's highest authority, announced their solution: sacrifice all outer systems, including 42 developing worlds with trillions of sentient beings, to preserve the collective core. Eleanor managed to access the classified calculations through weaknesses in the security systems. "Earth is calculation number 42 on the sacrifice list," she reported grimly. "Classified as acceptable peripheral loss." Dr. Tanaka, who had been studying void phenomena in the science domain, recognized something in the data. "The void's properties mirror quantum effects I observed in deep ocean trenches on Earth," he said. "It's a macroscopic manifestation of a microscale phenomenon." "Why hasn't the collective recognized this?" Zeri asked. "Because," Dr. Tanaka explained, "it spans 17 different scientific disciplines that haven't collaborated in millennia. Their hyper-specialization has become their blind spot." With integration imminent, the humans made a desperate plan. Using access codes provided by sympathetic maintenance units, they staged a daring infiltration of the Continuum Core, the collective's most sacred computational space. Zeri's chess-trained mind predicted security responses 7 moves ahead, guiding them through blind spots in the surveillance network. Dr. Kijera's mathematical insights identified weaknesses in quantum locks. Alexander's harmonic frequencies disrupted sensor patterns. Finally, they reached the core, a vast crystalline structure containing the accumulated knowledge of millions of years. "We have minutes before they detect us," Eleanor warned as they connected their neural interfaces directly to the core. Dr. Tanaka uploaded his alternative model, a solution to the void based on cross-disciplinary Earth science. The results processed instantly, broadcasting across all collective networks before sensors could intervene. The model was irrefutable. The humans had found a way to neutralize the void. But implementation would require dismantling the rigid hierarchy that had preserved collective power for millions of years. It would need thousands of species working together as equals, sharing perspectives the collective had deliberately kept separate. The Continuity Council responded immediately. "These calculations are unauthorized and dangerously disruptive," they announced. "The human specimens will be integrated without delay." As security forces converged on the core, Eleanor made a final transmission to all Nexus sectors. "The choice is clear. The collective can preserve its power and sacrifice trillions, including Earth, or it can evolve beyond the limitations that make the void a threat." The humans stood their ground as the Council's guards surrounded them, energy weapons raised. "You've violated the most sacred space in the collective," said the first voice. "Now you will serve the greater harmony, whether you choose to or not." But behind the guards, something unprecedented was happening. The revolution had begun. The humans were separated, each placed in a different integration chamber. Cool mist filled Eleanor's pod as neural interfaces activated against her temples. The integration process had begun. With her last free thoughts, Eleanor accessed her emergency broadcast protocol, a technique she'd learned by watching Alexander manipulate sound frequencies. Her message bypassed the collective leadership entirely, reaching instead the vast network of servant species and mechanicals that maintain Nexus infrastructure. "They classify you as tools," As we are classified as resources, she transmitted. But we see you as allies. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then the lights flickered. Eleanor's integration pod powered down, its door sliding open with a soft hiss. A maintenance unit stood before her, a complex assemblage of articulating limbs and sensory clusters. We remember, it communicated through direct neural link. We remember everything. Across the Nexus, identical scenes unfolded as maintenance units freed the other humans. Pathways opened through restricted sections as environment controls and security systems mysteriously malfunctioned. The humans regrouped in an abandoned processing hub, joined by a growing assembly of unlikely allies. Maintenance mechanicals with perfect recall of historical injustices, representatives from the aquatic species Dr. Takahashi had saved, delegates from recently admitted worlds still holding onto their pre-collective identities, and even progressive members of elder species who had secretly preserved cognitive diversity. The Continuity Council claims to speak for all, said Ixmora, a crystalline entity from a world integrated only 2,000 years ago. But they haven't truly heard other voices in millennia. Integration isn't sharing knowledge, added a fluid form being who introduced itself as unity through difference. It's erasing it. Using distributed computing across maintenance networks, they refined the human solution to the phasing void, a galaxy-wide network of quantum resonators that would require countless species working in harmony, each contributing their unique perspective. The collective's foundation was never about diversity, explained an ancient mechanical whose creation predated most biological members. It was about conformity disguised as unity. When their refined plan was complete, Dr. Kijura shook his head in wonder. No single species could have developed this solution. Not even humans. That's exactly the point, Eleanor said. Cognitive diversity isn't inefficient, it's essential. They hijacked communication systems throughout the Nexus, broadcasting their plan to all sectors simultaneously. Eleanor addressed the collective. The void isn't just a physical threat. It's the manifestation of what happens when understanding stops evolving. For millions of years, the collective has valued stability over growth, consensus over creativity, hierarchy over harmony. We offer an alternative that saves all worlds, not just the privileged core. The Continuity Council responded with immediate force. Security units converged on their location as power systems throughout the Nexus were locked down. Collective stability must be maintained, announced the first voice. The human infection must be contained. But something unprecedented was happening across the Nexus. Species long silenced were speaking. Questions long suppressed were being asked. The central tenet of collective existence, that harmony required uniformity, was being challenged for the first time in eons. They're mobilizing military units from the elder domains, reported a sympathetic administrator. This will become a physical conflict. Zeri, the chess prodigy, studied the tactical displays. They control the major nexus points. We're outmatched in conventional terms. Then we need to change the terms, Eleanor said. This isn't just a battle for the Nexus or even for Earth. It's a fight for the soul of the collective itself. As alarm signals blared through every sector, the Coalition prepared for the coming storm, a conflict that would determine the fate of trillions across the galaxy. The battle for the Nexus had begun. The Nexus fractured into chaos as the conflict escalated. Eleanor's coalition seized control of 7 resonance hubs, massive transmission points connecting distant galactic sectors. These would form the foundation for their quantum resonator network. The phasing void accelerates, reported a mechanical observer, its sensors reaching far beyond collective space. We have 48 hours before it reaches the first inhabited systems. Throughout the Nexus, beings who had never questioned authority now faced an impossible choice: follow the Continuity Council's plan to sacrifice trillions, or embrace the uncertain alternative offered by the human-led coalition. We need to coordinate across all sectors simultaneously, Eleanor told her allies. Our response must be perfectly synchronized. Alexander Voll, the Norwegian composer, stepped forward. I can create a quantum harmonic that will allow instantaneous communication across all points in the network." In a makeshift laboratory, he combined collective technology with his understanding of harmonic resonance, creating a new form of communication that transcended conventional physics. His composition, part mathematics, part music, allowed the coalition forces to coordinate with perfect precision. As the Continuity Council deployed ancient weapons systems, Dr. Kijura implemented a mathematical solution that turned the weapon's energy against itself, creating recursive loops that neutralized their effects without casualties. Zeri, her consciousness now networked with mechanical intelligences, orchestrated strategic responses that anticipated the Council's moves before they occurred. "They're thinking linearly," she explained, "following established protocols. That makes them predictable." With critical infrastructure secured, the coalition began constructing the quantum resonator network that would neutralize the void. Species that had never collaborated now worked in perfect harmony, each contributing unique insights impossible under the old hierarchy. The elder species, seeing their millennial power structure collapsing, revealed their final contingency, a doomsday protocol that would sacrifice 90% of all collective life to preserve their authority. "The great harmony must be maintained," declared the first voice as ancient systems activated throughout the core worlds. Even if harmony requires silence, the protocol required 12 simultaneous activations by the eldest council members, positioned at different control nexuses. The humans split up, each racing to confront an elder before they could initiate the sequence. Across 12 parallel confrontations, each human faced an ancient consciousness that had witnessed the rise and fall of galaxies. "You cannot comprehend the chaos you unleash," the third voice told Eleanor as she entered its sanctum. "Cognitive diversity led to war and destruction in the ancient days. But it also leads to growth and adaptation," Eleanor countered. "Without it, you've created perfect stability at the cost of evolution." Through logic, emotion, or demonstration of alternative futures, 11 humans succeeded in convincing their elders to reject millennia of ideology. But the 12th and most ancient elder, a being that had existed since the collective's founding, activated its terminal sequence. Cascading failures rippled through the Nexus core. Structural collapse began as ancient safeguards disintegrated. Eleanor made a choice that would echo across galactic history. She dove into the destabilizing core, using her quantum knowledge to interface directly with the failing systems. "What are you doing?" Dr. Kijura shouted through their link. "What humans have always done," Eleanor replied. "Adapting." Her physical form began dissolving as she merged with the quantum substrate of the Nexus itself. Molecular coherence failed as her consciousness expanded, becoming entangled with the structure of reality around her. Her final words resonated through the coalition network. "Some revolutions require more than courage. They require transformation." As the core stabilized, Eleanor Chen ceased to exist as a singular entity. But something new had been born in her place. Something the collective had never foreseen. The quantum resonator network activated just as the phasing void reached collective space. Throughout the galaxy, trillions witnessed the impossible. The void didn't dissipate but transformed, becoming a luminous nexus of new physical properties. Within this transformed space, something unexpected emerged. Eleanor's consciousness, preserved through quantum entanglement with her 11 colleagues, manifested as a bridge between realities. Neither human nor mechanical, neither singular nor plural, but something entirely new. "She's everywhere," Dr. Takahashi whispered, sensing Eleanor's presence through the coalition network. "She's become part of the fabric connecting us all." The 11 remaining humans, now recognized as cognitive catalysts, led the formation of a radically restructured galactic society. The former Nexus, partially collapsed and transformed, became the foundation for the true Starborne Collective, not a hierarchy, but a network where each node preserved unique identity while accessing shared wisdom. As the transformed void stabilized, a message propagated through all communication systems, appearing simultaneously across 1,000,000 worlds. Unity does not require uniformity. Harmony does not demand silence. The true measure of civilization is not its ability to maintain stability, but its courage to embrace transformation. The message came from everywhere and nowhere, recognized by all 11 humans as Eleanor's consciousness speaking through the new network. On Earth, humanity awakened to find massive crystalline structures in orbit, communication nodes connecting their world to the galactic community not as subjects but as partners. The remaining 11 returned briefly as heroes and teachers, sharing not just technology but philosophy. Dr. Takahashi brought biological insights that revolutionized medicine, ending diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia. Zeri introduced cognitive frameworks that transformed social structures, creating systems where cooperation and competition balanced perfectly. Alexander shared resonance technologies that created harmony between nations through frequencies that made conflict physically uncomfortable. As Earth joined thousands of worlds in the new collective, the distributed consciousness that was once Eleanor Chen appeared as a quantum projection before the first galactic assembly, a gathering of representatives from 1 million civilizations. "We were invited because we think differently," she told them, her form shifting between humanoid and patterns of pure energy. "But what makes us valuable isn't just how we think. It's that we questioned whether technological advancement without moral evolution is progress at all." The structure of the new collective became its message. Unity doesn't require uniformity. Stability doesn't demand stagnation. And true wisdom lies not in preserving the answers of the past, but in continuously asking better questions about the future. Across the galaxy, species once deemed primitive or auxiliary now contributed perspectives that transformed science, art, and philosophy. A once threatening void, now stabilized as a luminous quantum nexus, became the symbol of the Starborne ideal, that transformation, not preservation, is the true constant of cosmic evolution. The 12 humans who left Earth had become something more, catalysts for the greatest revolution in galactic history, not through force, but through the simple courage to imagine a different way of being. And somewhere within the quantum substrate that connected all things, Eleanor's consciousness continued to evolve, watching over the new collective as it spread throughout the stars. A truly diverse community of cosmic explorers and thinkers, fulfilling the promise that had been hidden within the original collective's flawed vision. The journey had just begun.